Hello, ladies and gentlemen. My name is James Thomas. Um, Currently, I'm doing a survey, and it's asking me about AT&T. About the marketing consisting with, as far as the cable service. The reason here in Ohio, I went with Spectrum because it seemed like the speed was a lot better. It seemed like the, the speed was a lot better. AT&T, it was just um, pretty much the service pretty much it was just messed up. And when I went to switch over to from from AT&T to Spectrum, it was just a whole big fiasco and everything like that. So I choose Spectrum because it has quality speed. AT&T, which I don't understand when it comes to consumers, that they seem to not really before they make a business decision as far as buying stuff out and trying to be that domineering. I don't know what they're trying to do, but they really should have thought about that. And I hope that Spectrum don't let AT&T buy them out, because they got a good thing going on. AT&T went and got um, Universal and Dish Network. The thing about Dish Network is that not not too many places like my place here in Columbus, Ohio, that takes that you can't have the service of AT&T. Now that Spectrum has arrived upon over here, it's just basically they just have dominated this industry. If I had advice for any corporation like AT&T, you really need to do some evaluation with your customers, and before you start buying out a company, maybe have a marketing company, go with your customers and give input, and so you can give other uh, input about what would be more competitive in the field. Because by you buying Dish, did you consider the fact that there's some places that condos and apartment buildings that can't get a Dish network? Did you consider the fact? I mean, did your marketing people consider the fact about that? There's certain condo associations that don't allow don't allow this stuff, and it's just that this was really annoying. So you pushing your competition where your competition comes in, and you can't bow out everybody because with your outrageous fee, and I don't just think it's and I don't think it's right. And so the reason why I switched over, and it's when these companies get too big, it's just that I'm glad that there's a lot of healthy competition, and I don't because it seems like they get to a certain degree when they start getting billions and billions of dollars. It seems like you lose focus on the customer. So my thing is that I hope that they think about that in the future, about consider more of a customer, hire a marketing company, and to have the thousands of customers, and maybe there won't be layoffs at your company, and you won't have to shut certain divisions down. But it sounds like people, whoever's in the boardroom, as far as business, they don't know what they're doing, because now you have push your competition, make your competition stepped up. So as a customer, I left AT&T and went to Spectrum as far as the phone service and the cable service. That's the reason why. And I can't with where I live at, I can't get Universe here because it's not offered in the area. And you can't have Dish because it's put in the satellite. So maybe you, you know when you make a deal with the complex, maybe you should kind of let them know that when you take over certain areas, and you have a developed plan with apartment communities, you might want to make that decision and talk that owner so you could still have clients in that apartment community. I'm just making that suggestion, and I know this. I don't know if this would ever get out to anybody, but I think that as a consumer, they need to listen to the smaller people, and it's just that it's just ridiculous that you have that they don't consider that. They don't consider the fact that and then and wanted to charge you and everything. But since I switched to Spectrum, man, Spectrum came out here, and because where I live at, they redoed all the buildings. You don't hardly ever see an AT&T truck out here. They just came in and just dominated. They got everybody on Spectrum system. AT&T kind of lost out, and in my complex, there's probably over 1,000 apartments out here, and probably that's just in my complex. That ain't including the other apartment communities. So I would say suggest in the future AT&T or any company like AT&T, you might if you want a big production and a turnaround, you might want to consider that before you start buying out companies, whatever. Find out what your customers want before you start buying out companies, and making sure that and do some consumer report, and just to stop going on this power trip. And maybe you need to have a marketing firm, and to get a good idea of what your old customers want and what do they have, and go from there. As far as the business, I don't know who makes your boardroom decisions, but they really screwed up about that, because now you losing customers. I have personally talked to people from all walks of life, and they just going to just do cell phones now, and not even your cell phone division is even, because it's like you charge too much for your cell phones. You don't make it competitive. It's all about the dollar, whatever, and you're losing. And the greed that you're doing, putting these people in the cell phone plans, what you're doing is causing more. You're losing more business because people get agitated, and it's a lot of healthy competition out here when it comes to the cable vision, the wireless services out here. So I think that you need to really, if it ever get out to somebody who works that the corporate need to ask the consumer, before you start buying into companies that really majority of the customers can't have dish. Number one, some dish places, when it comes to the weather, the satellite gets knocked out, especially if it's a cloudy or rainy day. That's another thing. And so you're paying for it. Then it has static interference. So you might want to think about that when you go and purchase a half a billion dollar company. Maybe you should consult with your consumers first, but basically, and see what your consumers from in the cities and towns and your services want, instead of just jumping and to see, and then take a survey about condos, apartments, and not just people in houses. And I think a lot of these you get into these big cities, and you think that every state is like the big city you in, like Los Angeles or San Francisco or Dallas, Texas. Not every city is the same. Not every secondary, thirdary town and city is the same. So you have to consider the market in them cities and towns when you're making business decisions. And it seems like it's like, I don't know. It's like there's people like a dumber than a bunch of rocks, whatever. As far as that, because you give your competition a step up in the game, and so you're trying to win and gain more people, and it's not working. So now you're losing out. So if this video ever get out, I said I wanted the consumers and just said that's one of the reasons why I went to Spectrum. And basically, then I left AT&T because it's just that they don't consider a number of factors. Number one, they don't consider the area. Number two, they should have a survey of how many customers live in a house, and how many customers live in an apartment, and how many customers live in a condo. Then I don't know if I was a company. Okay, let me take a certain percentage out of customers that live in houses and in apartments, whatever. Because a lot of people don't live in houses. A lot of people choose to downside and live in apartments because maybe for their finances. So you might want to consider that next time. You might want to consider your marketing plan when you hire a good marketing company. You guys, just like Google and Facebook do, hire a marketing company to do their secondary. AT&T, I think that's what you need to do, because it's just that you it's just I've heard that from different people, even my family, how this piss poor services and stuff like that. The high rates and everything, and I just think that it sucks that you charge all this money. you know, as far as cell phone services, is outlandish. The equipment is outlandish, whatever. And right now that they messing around with the internet service and start charging anything, you as a $1 billion company and a lot of your other $1 billion companies, they should get behind that guy in New York, because that's gonna hurt the internet business. A lot of people got business, whatever, got internet, whatever. So I don't know. Maybe you should think about that. Basically, when in your corporate offices, whatever, maybe you should really marketing plans and get the average working poor class, lower the poor class, to working upper, not just a certain elite people, not a certain class, because you find that more working poor people uh, might be your highest consumer than someone is in a certain elite, and I think that's what it is. Not everybody has a home, and the majority of people who out there, if they make it, they can't afford a home. One thing, so that's why they live in apartments and condos. So maybe you should consider that when you to order to catch up with a target like Spectrum or whatever, or these other companies, whatever. Why don't y'all you guys need to sit down and consider that, because it's just that you're not too, whoever is not too bright as far as that, and you go and buy companies that it ain't a good high percentage of people want, and maybe some people might not want to deal with satellite, basically, and some people find all alternative ways, because the way that things are in this economy right now, with higher taxes and stuff, folks gonna start cutting back, whatever. So, so I don't know. That's my rant and rave. I've been wanting to do this and say this, and start out with the companies. You guys need to really just listen to the consumer, man. You need to get with a marketing company. AT&T, you're one of them that just need, and stop going buying companies that you trying to hog the market, so to speak, and it's not working. You need to really, I don't know who do your boardrooms, wherever you at, corporate boardrooms, but they dumber than a bunch of rocks when it comes to the average consumer, and that's how I view it. And it's just that you're causing, consumers who don't maybe have that certain criteria as far as the income, basically, but a dollar's a dollar, money's money. So you causing your own corporate offices to close and employees to lay off, because you just greed. You want to monopolize everything, and it's that it's not good. AT&T and any other company that thinks like you need to have a better game plan. You really have a need to you need to really go with your consumers. Really just go with the consumers. Do a marketing plan. Send something when you put it in the mail, and have the consumer, pay it back, and maybe a suggestion or something like that. That would be nice, instead of you just just buying up and thinking that, and then trying to see that the customer is gonna give in to buying dish or something like that, when that's not what they really wanted. And so that's how I feel about. That's what my rave about some of these companies. That's just one company, and another speaking of companies, and one of the things that I want to dig at, how come when you go in the stores, right? You go into a grocery store, the stock that the stock they always put up the stock so late. Um, why is the floors always so clogged up to the point that I just can't figure that out. You can't get by. It's like an accident prone free. I mean, it's just certain things that I don't understand what they do. It's just ridiculous. You go into the store, they wait till the store is halfway crowded, and just start bringing out loads and loads of stuff and blocking up the aisles, and people got to run into each other. Half a thousand people. I mean, can't you just pick a certain time to restock the shelves? Like, could you like maybe kind of time it out when it's a little bit less of people? If you no matter if it's a big grocery chain to a small discount store. And please, and another thing, and I have seen stores throughout the market. If I had to do a consumer checkup, some of them would fail, man. So fail because I have been in stores like in Cincinnati. Man, this one store, I ain't gonna say the name, but it was so nasty that if there were little kids that's in it, they could have picked up something and put it in their mouth. They had trash on the floor. It looked like a gutter store. It was something out of a trash heap store. Like they just like them, they don't clean it up or nothing. And it was just like the floor looked trashy. And so, and then people wonder how people get, you know, they don't think as a business to keep their floors clean because people are so happy, and if they pick up something or some little kid put stuff in their mouth, whatever, then you're liable for that stuff like that. So maybe you need for them people like that. Maybe you need to consider that as a business out there. So that's just my rant and rave. Certain things that I see out there when you go out in this business, when you go into these businesses. Yeah, but get back to the AT&T thing. And these other companies like that, you need to get with the program, man. I mean, you need to really, 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 really at, do some kind of marketing, and I mean, and stop being so greedy and trying to hog everything. And because I mean, it's just not right. I mean, because the consumer should have their right. So that's how I feel. So that's my rant for the thing. All right, then you all have a good evening.